Good morning, friends. UFC 229. It's fight morning. Mike's MMA Picks here with a fight morning quick card breakdown for you. Lots of opportunities here tonight. We'll kick things off with our first fight of the night. A lot of line value here on Tony Martin, priced at $7,400 from a DraftKings perspective here. And then we have Ryan LaFleur at $8,800. Ryan LaFleur, grizzled veteran, 35 years old. Tough out. Something that stands out here when you look at the line that the fight goes the distance, minus 350. So if you are looking to take down a GPP, I'm thinking about ways that either fighter can get this done. They both have great grappling, but I see them canceling each other out often. And Tony Martin's last fight against Nakamura, he fought a very smart fight there. So I don't give him. I'm not his harshest critic when it comes to that fight. I thought he turned the corner after the Johnny Case fight, and then when he came in against OAM and got out grappled, that was concerning to me. But I am slightly leaning towards Tony Martin to get the upset here. He's the younger fighter. He is This is his second camp down in Florida, and I think that he is going to have a little bit more gas in the tank at the end of the third round when, and that's probably what this fight is going to come down to. Next up, we have two grizzled veterans, Gray Maynard and Nick Lentz, going at each other. Nick Lentz priced at $9,000, which is extremely high for a DraftKings price, considering what he brings to the table. But you also need to consider the opponent that he's taking on. Gray Maynard, 39 years old. He's put a lot of time in here. I watched the Embedded last night, and I don't know if you guys caught Tony Ferguson introducing himself to Gray Maynard, saying that he was a big fan, and it seemed authentic. So Gray Maynard, well-respected veteran. He looked great on the scale, looked great in his last fight, and I suspect due to recency bias, we'll see a lot of people on Gray Maynard, especially at his price of $7,200. Originally, during my tape study, Gray Maynard stuck out to me, but then as I dug deeper, I was watching a lot of tape on Nick Lentz, and this guy just doesn't go away, and seems to get stronger as the fight goes on. His takedown defense is an issue, but he's the better striker. He is relentless. He has the guillotine that, it's a double-edged sword. If he doesn't get it, he's going to get taken down. And the problem here, one of the dangers is that if Gray takes Nick down, he could spend a significant chunk of time on the bottom, and you're not getting DraftKings points for being on bottom, unless you're securing a submission. So I think Nick Lentz is going to win the fight. I see Gray fading towards the latter rounds. He does get stiff when he runs out of gas, and is like a sitting duck to get teed off on. So I like Nick Lentz in this spot. I think that he's going to be a sneaky play at $9,000. When you look at those higher priced fighters, you've got Patrick up there, as well as Volkov, and then Kunitskaya. Between that $8,500 and $9,000 range, but Nick Lentz, it's a little sketchy, but I think that he's going to get it done. Now, next up, we have a very interesting fight from the weigh-ins. You could tell these guys the intensity, the possibility of some fireworks at the first round. We've got Alan Patrick against Scott Holtzman. Both guys 35 years old, both with impressive records. Patrick is 5-1 in the UFC. He's coming in with a hefty price tag at $9,100, but he does bring he brings a ton of takedowns, and he doesn't do much with them. He tends to secure position, and then Scott Holtzman, who is a jack of all trades. At 35 years old, he's kind of coming into his own. I liked his fight against Daryl Horcher. The ref in that fight continuously stood both guys up when Holtzman was in dominant position. So I think he could have got the finish in that last fight, but this is a different story right here. Alan Patrick, his first round, very, very dangerous. Holtzman's aware of this, though. Holtzman, in the interviews I heard, he likens Patrick to a stray cat. He knows that he's going to have Patrick gas out in that first round. And then towards the latter stages of the fight, I expect Holtzman to be more game. But that first round is going to be pretty scary. I actually like Holtzman at his price for $7,100 when you're looking at those punt plays, those fighters who are going to be there at the end of the bell and maybe rack up a few points. But the problem is we do have to realize that this is another fight where he's going up against a dominant wrestler who does have a jiu-jitsu game, and he may spend a lot of time on the bottom, similar to the last fight that we discussed. But Patrick, he scores a ton of takedowns. He probably won't have much energy towards the tail end of the fight because he's going to pour it all on in the first round and a half. I see Patrick getting a decision here. If you look at fight goes to a decision, the odds are -350. And I don't see a lot of casual fans rostering Patrick in the big DraftKings tournaments, so just be aware of that. But I like Patrick, and I also will have a fair number of shares of Holtzman at $7,100. Okay. Next up, we have the ladies' fight at 135. Lena Landsberg against Yana Kunitskaya. Kunitskaya, a lot of people, I suspect, due to recency bias, they're going to look back to that Cyborg fight and see that she got destroyed. But she's 28 years old. You've got a lot of line value there. She's up to -210 right now. For $8,500 on DraftKings, she should be one of the safer plays. Lena Landsberg at $7,700 is 36 years of age. She, what can you say about the Mazzani fight? Not much. My concern about this fight from a DraftKings perspective is it may take place up against the cage. Landsberg, somehow, I remember her fighting Pudilova and a few other times where she just stalls and doesn't seem to be as active as you'd like. But this fight should stay standing, and I'm just wondering from a DraftKings perspective what type of ownership we're going to see. I doubt we're going to see much Landsberg ownership. Kunitskaya should get the win here, but at -210, that's a lot of juice there. But Kunitskaya for the win. Next up, very interesting fight: Aspen Ladd against Tanya Evinger. I think it was Fight Gambler on Twitter who likened this fight to a mother-daughter fight, and it really looks that way. Tanya Evinger, 37-year-old grizzled veteran. She's a plus 145 favorite at a price tag of $8,000 on DraftKings. She's a grappler. She likes to make the fight dirty and keep things close. Her striking is very limited. She's going up against a young lady who had a very tough weight cut. This is another reason I like to do these breakdowns after the weigh-ins, is because you never know what you're going to get when you see people on the scale. This is concerning to me. Aspen Ladd, we saw the pictures on Twitter that she was posting, and she looked to be in phenomenal shape, but obviously is carrying too much muscle mass. Tough cut. She made it though. For $8,200, Aspen Ladd, her striking department also was disturbing in her last fight. It raised a lot of red flags, but I don't see there being a lot of stand-up exchanges against Evinger here. I think this is going to be a grappling-based fight, and I'm going to go with the young buck here. I know a lot of people are turned off by the what we saw at the weigh-ins, and also Aspen Ladd's previous performances, but I think we're going to see a better Aspen Ladd here, and I don't like where the line's at. If you got something, I believe the line got down to about -118 or -115 for Aspen Ladd. That made a lot more sense than at -155. This is a much closer fight than originally anticipated, and I do see this possibly being a split decision. But I'm going to pick Ladd here to win. Next up, we got Vicente Luque against Jalen, the Tarantula Turner. Turner is your lowest priced fighter on the card at $6,800. He is a plus 650 underdog, and he is only 23 years of age. He's gained some notoriety for being a sparring partner of Michael Bisping for his fights with Anderson Silva. Or his fight with Anderson Silva, and Vicente Luque, very sharp stand-up and boxing, great on the ground, young, 26 years old as well. This is a fight to target, even though you're looking at $9,400. The inside the distance props are really good, I meant that they are very high, so that this fight should end rather quickly. Jalen Turner, a very large frame, more for Luque to find. He could go to the body. He could look for the takedown. He has a number of ways to win this fight. But at the weigh-ins, we saw the freakish size of Turner. I wonder if that's going to impact players on DraftKings. I see people. I think Luque. I think we're not going to see as high Luque as ownership as I'd expect, because Luque he's got that high price tag, $9,400, and you're going to have to take some big dogs if you're composing those lineups, and you want to fit Luque in there. Mid-range though, there are some great shots available in the mid-range as well. But Luque should roll here and finish. It's just a matter of whether or not he pays off that price tag. I personally think he does. Next up, we got a young buck in Sergio Pettis against Jussier Formiga. Formiga, 33 years old. He's fought the who's who, Benavidez, John Dodson. He's another grizzled veteran. The fight goes the distance odds for this fight are at -300 right now. So Vegas says it's going to go the distance. If it does, Sergio Pettis, precise striker, he's still evolving. I think the Cejudo fight sent him back to the drawing board. He's got to be aware that wrestling and the ground game is his weakness. We saw how he came very close to losing that fight against Moreno, and there have been other times where he's put up lackluster performances, and both Pettis brothers, stand up is great, but ground game challenging. The odds seem to be getting a little bit wider now. Pettis is becoming a bigger favorite. He's up to -165. Pettis, for $8,600, I expect very low ownership of him. we're looking at a striking-based decision if he comes through. And Formiga, I expect him to be the highest owned underdog on the card. We know that there's a strong possibility of a submission there, and I'm going to pick Sergio Pettis to win by decision in this fight. But I suspect a lot of people are going to be on Formiga. The problem with Formiga, though, is if he doesn't get the submission, he's not going to put up many points. So he strong play in GPPs, but for cash, if he doesn't get that sub, he'll probably lose this fight. Next up, we have Michelle Waterson against Felice Herrig. Michelle Waterson, both of these fighters, grizzled veterans. This is the mid-range that I was talking about. You got 7,900 and Felice Herrig at 8,300. Both fighters have not very impressive records. We got 15-6 versus 14-7. Some things I noticed on the scale: Felice Herrig is the bigger fighter. We know Herrig always has had very. She's a vascular. She has a vascular body with. How do I put this? Well, let's just say she doesn't have much. She has a low body fat percentage. Herrig, she's known as the Bulldog. That's how she fights. She looks to. She excels when she's grappling, and I suspect that that's what she'll try to do. The problem with Waterson is, or the problem with fighting Waterson is that she tries to keep distance and use her quickness as an edge. She's tricky on the ground as well. We've seen her land a few armbar attempts, but Waterson's the smaller fighter. She has not looked good in the latter rounds of fights, and I think Herrig wants this more. At $8,300, I think she actually is one of the better plays on the card, even though the odds are tightening. Herrig is at -110 now. Odds have been shifting slightly in either direction. I don't see Waterson getting a finish in this fight. I think that Herrig is too swift on the ground, and that her fight IQ is pretty high. Herrig, she hung in there against Carolina and was throwing some heavy punches, but the fight never materialized itself on the ground. And this fight, I hope it hits the ground, because this is a sneaky fight for GPPs. I think that if it does hit the ground, Herrig has the possibility of getting a submission here, but my play, or my preferred play, is Herrig. Next up, this is actually the fight that I am most excited about on the card, other than the Conor. Well, you know what? I have a few fights that I'm very excited about, but this one, for DraftKings purposes, I'm very excited about. We've got Derek Lewis against Alexander Volkov. Not only because of what we saw yesterday at the weigh-ins, where they, got at it with each other, but Volkov is a volume fighter, very, very big guy for the division. Had some concerning fights against Timmy Johnson, and man, he's coming in at $8,700, which is a high price to pay. -155 underdog. Sorry, -155 favorite. And he's fighting against Derek Lewis, who we saw 3.5 months ago against Francis Ngannou. Ngannou, that fight, you can throw it out the window. But Derek Lewis is back, acted up in that fight. It's been bothering him in just about every fight. Lewis, in the interviews I've heard, said that he wants to get this fight over with in the first round, because he's going to gas out. Sometimes this guy, Lewis, he doesn't tell us the truth. So he's the same guy who told us he went vegan at one point, which we know that wasn't reality. Lewis is going to be a heavily owned underdog at 7,500 plus 145 underdog. Few things here. The length, the reach. the technical striking of Volkov. This is clear advantages for the young Volkov, who, you know, look at his record, 6 losses. The guy has almost 40 fights. So he's a veteran in his own right. The problem, though, is with Lewis, or facing Lewis, is that you could be winning this fight and all of a sudden, you know, he just unleashes on you and you're on the canvas and he's doing that that snake, whatever the hell kind of celebration it is. So dangerous fight, but one that I'm willing to take a stand, and I will probably take a stand in some of my GPP contests. I like Volkov in this matchup, and I think that Lewis is breakable, as we've seen in the past. But I don't fault folks for going with Lewis at that price of $7,500. He has the ability to get a finish. That's one of the reasons I want to target this fight. This fight is supposed to end inside the distance. Okay. Next up, we have, oh wow, we've got the last 3 fights on the card. We've got OSP against Dominic Reyes. I've had the privilege of watching Dominic Reyes grow up and play football, and also develop as a martial artist. It's pretty incredible to watch him kind of fly under the radar, but this is his time to be in the spotlight. Any fight against OSP is dangerous. At plus 205 for OSP and 7,300, he is a sneaky play on the card. There's always a chance he gets the submission, but also he just when you have him on death's door, he can come back and land something. Problem here, though, is Reyes is a very technical striker. He has tremendous length. He has a very unique frame for the 205-pound division. Reyes is the younger statesman at 28 years of age, minus 225 favorite. Props to those out there who were able to snag the line at minus 180 or minus 185. Reyes, 8,900. If Conor McGregor wasn't fighting on this card, I would say that Dominic Reyes may be the highest fighter owned. I've got one of my sons is playing in the sandbox behind me, so I just have to keep an eye on him every once in a while. So the way I see this fight playing out is that Dominic Reyes gets a highlight reel finish. Whether it comes in the first or second round, who knows? But one thing that I was listening to Luke Thomas interview Dominic Reyes, and he was saying that he realizes how OSP responds in fights when fighters target his weaknesses. And he knows how to react when fighters target OSP's weaknesses, and how OSP himself reacts to that. So he's got a few things up his sleeve for this fight, and I want to see Reyes. Although I like Reyes as a play from a DraftKings perspective, I want to see him get more time in the octagon so that we can truly assess his abilities. He's got very limited cage time in there, and everything we've seen, well, just about everything we've seen has been impressive. So looking forward to this fight. But my pick is Dominic Reyes. Next up, this is a very, very intriguing fight. Tony Ferguson against Anthony Pettis. If there ever was a time where Tony Ferguson would be ripe for the picking, it's now. Coming off of this knee injury and the surgery, he's said it himself that he's less than 6 months post-op, and it was an LCL repair. Problem is, Tony Ferguson is one of the most mentally strong individuals I've ever seen. His performances are, what can you say? That fight against RDA in Mexico City, how he dismantled RDA. RDA had a really tough weight cut, but we saw what Ferguson was made of in that fight. I wasn't really impressed with his performance, Tony Ferguson's performance against Kevin Lee. He was losing that fight. Anthony Pettis can take advantage of the striking early if he's dialed in. By the way, Ferguson's price at 9,300 for DraftKings play. He's a very busy fighter. He'll do whatever he has to do to win. Pettis is actually a few years younger than Ferguson, 31 years of age, plus 305 underdog for Pettis, priced at 6,900 for DraftKings. One thing about Pettis, if I was in his corner, what I'd advise him to do is to come out with leg kicks early. Ferguson's going to know that that's what he's going to do, so he's probably game planning for that. But this is something that could pay dividends later on in the fight. And we've seen Anthony Pettis fold under pressure. We've seen him wilt. The Poirier fight, he had a few moments, but his body just broke down on him. So I think that this fight is actually expected to go the distance. If it does go the distance, another reason Pettis should test that leg early, and man, I realize why Ferguson is the favorite, and he should be, but something's popping off in my head that says, you know, if there ever was a time where he could get picked off, this is it. But we'll see. Pettis could get dominated and finished, and odds don't say it, but I actually like Pettis in this spot, to be honest. But I understand for $9,300 are people expecting the same exact Tony Ferguson that was fighting against Kevin Lee and RDA, etc. I'm not ready to, you know, put my flag in the ground for that. So I say to those who are rostering Ferguson or do plan on rostering Ferguson, just do so with caution. Then we get on to the main event of the evening. By the way, just want to share my PFL hat. Very impressed with PFL and what they've been doing lately. Main event of the evening, we've got Conor McGregor against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Props to Conor McGregor for taking this fight. He didn't have to take this fight. I think it says a lot about his warrior spirit to do that. Both guys 30 years old. I'm gonna cut right to the chase. There's going to be no feeling out process in this fight as far as I'm concerned. Conor, he has to get it done in the first round, in the first few minutes, or else he's going to be in a world of hurt. And I think that, actually, I was wondering this last night with Conor, when he's such a mentally strong person. I wonder if the thoughts of Khabib, you know, how things are going to play out in the later rounds, I wonder if that's entered his mind, if he is getting dominated, and if Khabib's on top of him talking to him, how he's going to handle that. He's checked out in the past, but everything I saw on the scales, everything I saw leading up to the fight, the press conferences, etc. Nurmagomedov, granted, his head movement is, or his lack of head movement is an issue, but I think that this is an opportunity for, just similar to the Ferguson fight, where you're getting somebody who's coming off of a 2.5 year layoff, someone who is coming back after preparing for a boxing match, and Nurmagomedov has so many clear advantages here. Cardio, wrestling. I'd also say mental toughness, because we've never seen Nurmagomedov stopped inside the cage. Conor's going to have to knock him out. That's his only chance at winning this fight. I don't see any way Nurmagomedov doesn't win this fight unless if Conor gets knocked out. Man, let's see. So I played the scenarios here in my head for the past month and a half, and other than Conor has to win by knockout. If he doesn't win by knockout, he can't get this done in my mind. I've seen crazier things, but from a DraftKings perspective, what's crazy to me is I think we're gonna see some wild ownership on McGregor, and he may come through. He may put up a lot of points in that first round and get the win. But you're looking at a gold mine here with Khabib at 8,400. What he can do for that price, he's the line is actually, the other thing is the line for Nurmagomedov, he was down to minus 140, minus 142, something like that at one point. Now he's up to minus 175. A lot of people were expecting McGregor to the line to close a little bit, but it hasn't. So, I mean, I think that goes to show you where this fight may be headed. But great main event. I am going to pick Khabib in this spot. Really looking forward to this fight, and that should wrap things up. I thank everybody for tuning in. Fight morning breakdown for UFC 229. You can follow me on Capertech as well as BetMMA.tips. They do great things over there. MikesMMAPicks signing off. I wanted to wish everybody a great evening tonight. This is something we've been waiting for a very, very long time. And the moment of truth is here. So enjoy the event, my friends. Till next time.